Revenge with Karen. They called it a collab meeting, but it was really just Alyssa power strutting through a slide deck made of my blood, sweat, and 4,000 lines of undocumented code. There she stood, in her cobalt blazer and $600 haircut, clicking through my architecture like she gave birth to the idea on a yoga mat. This load balancer schema was a breakthrough. She beamed, not even blinking. That schema came to me at 2:43 a.m. while eating reheated chipotle on the floor of my studio apartment, debugging a memory leak that nearly took down our staging server. But please, Alyssa, do tell the VCs about your vision. Afterward, I sat in the parking lot with the engine running, fingers clenched around the steering wheel until the plastic creaked. That's when I knew I wasn't just tired, I was invisible. 3 years in this startup built its spine while they were still arguing over the logo. And now I'm the office ghost, the legacy code whisperer, the one they call when the junior devs break production but won't invite to the product summit. Over margaritas that night, I vented to Lena, my old roommate turned UX lead over at a competitor. She listened, nodded, and finally said, "You're the housekeeper in a tech mansion. They want it spotless. God forbid anyone sees you mopping the blood off the tiles." I laughed, bitter and buzzed, because it was true. Real quick though, before I go further into how this corporate opera burned to the damn ground, you should definitely hit that follow button. Yeah, 97% of y'all listen to these stories like bedtime gospel and never subscribe. Wild. Toss a like too, it keeps the team caffeinated and unreasonably hopeful. Thanks, legends. Anyway, Alyssa wasn't just stealing credit, she was weaponizing it. Every stand-up became a performance. I'd give a progress report, and she'd jump in with a what Marcy means is like. I was some kind of backend caveman tapping rocks together. But the real twist of the knife came the morning she waltzed over to my desk with that Stepford smile and said, "So we're going to reassign the auth layer work for visibility reasons." Visibility. Right, because the CEO's 23-year-old nephew, who once confused OAuth 2 with oat milk, definitely needed to be seen. The same kid who called my scripts old school and asked if Bash was some kind of app. My work, clean, bulletproof, still humming in prod after 2 years, was now in the hands of a hype-beast intern who wore Yeezys to code review. I bit my tongue, I nodded, I even smiled. But that night, I poured a whiskey and started digging through my old emails. The ones from when the company was still paying me as a contractor. Before the W-2, before the HR onboarding, before they gave a damn, and buried in those emails was a PDF, signed by their first head of legal, dated and time-stamped. It said the code I wrote in that phase was mine, and I never transferred the rights. They took my code, but I kept the keys. 2 days later, calendar invite landed like a dead bird in my inbox. Code transition sync mandatory. The kind of meeting title that smells like layoffs, passive aggression, and cheap toner. I clicked in right on time. Alyssa was already mid-monologue, praising the fresh energy being brought into the dev pipeline. Then she said it like it was no big deal. "We're handing off backend ops to Josh and his team. Marcy will support the transition." Support, like I was a folding chair. Josh, the CEO's idiot nephew, grinned like he'd just beat Elden Ring on easy mode. "Hey, Mars, psyched to work with you," he said, like we were about to do trust falls and not refactor a mission-critical authentication system he didn't even understand. The same kid who once asked if asynchronous meant working in your pajamas. I looked at Alyssa. She was already flipping through Slack on her phone, half bored, half smirking, voice syrupy and surgical. "If you have any concerns, Marcy, feel free to file your little complaint with HR." Not a complaint, your little complaint. Like my professionalism came in snack sizes. I don't know what shifted in that exact moment. Maybe it was the years of being talked over, or the 8 weekends I lost rewriting their broken CI pipeline, but something inside me fossilized. I smiled like a good little trooper and nodded. Then I went home and tore through my old Gmail like a woman possessed. My fingers moved faster than my brain. And there it was, right between a DoorDash receipt for drunken pad thai and a reminder to hydrate or dihydrate, a dusty thread from the early days. From Nick, the CTO back when we were still operating out of a rented, we work with flickering lights and lukewarm coffee. Subject line, Independent contributor agreement, his words. "Lena's drywall, we're good to go. You keep ownership until we bring you on formally. This gives us room to move fast now, clean up legal later." They never cleaned up shit. I stared at the email, blinked, read it again, and again. It was like finding a forgotten lottery ticket in the pocket of an old hoodie, except this one had teeth. The humiliation of that morning meeting, it started to dissolve, replaced by a strange, heavy calm, like the silence before a thunderstorm when the air tastes like metal. They wanted to play games. They didn't realize I'd already written the rules. I almost let it go. Swear to God, I did. I poured another whiskey, turned off Slack, and told myself, you've got savings. Severance. Your rent's on autopay. Let the clowns set the tent on fire if they want. Even opened a doc titled Next Chapter and filled it with job board links and half-assed affirmations like some LinkedIn divorcee trying to manifest inner peace. But peace has a hard time landing when your phone won't stop buzzing from deployment alerts. They were breaking everything. Josh's team pushed a half-baked build into staging and watched it buckle like a dollar store lawn chair. Login loops. Session timeouts. An invalidation so bad it locked out half the QA team. And every time it went wrong, they pinged me. Passive-aggressive notes in Jira. Slack DMs like, hey, was this legacy decision yours? Legacy. Cute. Stand-ups turned into digital tribunals. Alyssa smiling her Stepford smile while Josh stammered through updates and tossed grenades in my direction. Maybe the code's just outdated? Marcy, were there notes on the fallback logic? You just hop in real quick and fix it? Fix it? The code ran flawlessly for 2 years. Then Josh got his grubby little mitts on it, and now it's melting like a popsicle in a bonfire. But I need to fix it. Every request, every sly dig, chipped away at the shell of professionalism I duct-taped around myself. Until one night, somewhere between rage-snacking kettle chips and rewriting a scathing resignation email I never sent, opened a private window and logged into the IP registry system. The interface hadn't changed since 2007. Ugly, bureaucratic, unforgiving. But nestled in the archive, like a quiet heartbeat in the static, was my name. Registrant, Marcy Lynn Cardina's software system. Modular auth layer plus dynamic session manager license status. Proprietary usage terms unresolved. It wasn't just the email anymore. This was filed, certified, archived, notarized by that old head of legal before he bailed to become a crypto pastor or whatever the hell he's doing now. I leaned back in my chair, the glow of the monitor washing over me like holy light filtered through an IT department. They hadn't overwritten it, hadn't updated the ownership, hadn't even bothered to check. Because why would they? I was invisible. Until I wasn't. I wasn't going to call Nick. Not because I didn't trust him. It was the only decent one from the early days. But because I didn't want to sound like one of those ex-employees. Bitter, broken, clinging to ghosts in shared repos. But after 3 nights of rereading that registry entry like it was the damn Rosetta Stone, I caved. We hopped on Zoom. His background was some trendy open office with fake ferns and real interns. He looked tired but happy, which is more than I could say for myself. I gave him the short version. Alyssa handed off my code to the CEO's nephew. Now they're breaking it, blaming me, and pretending I never existed. He squinted. Wait, the base system. The session manager? That's still yours, right? Apparently. I turned my webcam so he could see the screen, the registry, the emails. My name stamped all over the guts of their golden goose. Nick leaned forward, expression shifting from casual to laser-focused. Marcy wrote that backend when it was just 2 of us and a Slack channel named Ship It or Die. We were still trying to figure out how to bill users. There's no way they've cleaned up that chain. And the provisional patent? I asked. He nodded. I checked last year. You're still listed. They never updated it. Probably didn't want to trigger a valuation audit before the next round. My stomach dropped and surged all at once, like I'd just crested a roller coaster built from duct tape and bad intentions. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't petty. I had legal ownership, and now I had leverage. After the call, I closed Slack, turned off Gmail, opened 36 tabs, Liens, software licensing enforcement, DMCA takedowns, contractor rights in IP disputes, proprietary licensing injection modules. It was like eating fire. Dense, confusing, but the more I read, hotter I burned. Turns out you can file a lien against code. If it was authored under your name, licensed under your terms, and deployed without consent, especially if the contract left the door open, you could put a legal padlock on the whole damn product. They didn't just borrow my work. They tried to bury me with it. But I knew every inch of that system, every fragile dependency, every workaround they bragged about optimizing was just my well-hidden workaround in a better font. They took the house, but I still had the deed. It's funny what revenge looks like when you write it in Python. No flaming monologues, no slashed tires or HR tantrums. Just a form, notarized and uploaded to the US Copyright Office with a digital signature and a timestamp. Just a legal lien filed under unresolved ownership dispute, modular auth layer, initial framework plus session pipeline. The silence after I hit submit was louder than any boardroom meltdown I could have imagined. No alarms went off, no sirens, just a soft little ping confirming the lien was live, indexed, and very, very real. I stared at the screen like I'd just detonated something under glass, because I had. Next came the ghost work, the kind that doesn't show up in Git logs or Jira tickets. I pulled the most recent repo clone before they revoked access. Nested deep in the deployment pipeline was the heartbeat of my system, the backend init file. And into that I tucked a needle. A single verification call, lightweight, encrypted, obfuscated. It pinged a license server, my server. If the check failed, deployment halted, dead screen, no error message. Just a single line, unauthorized deployment, pay license holder to continue. Elegant. Quiet, like leaving a landmine under a Persian rug. I didn't broadcast it, didn't threaten, didn't email a soul. Let them keep marching toward launch, high on their own fumes. Alyssa was already lining up press blurbs. Josh was rehearsing his little demo like he invented object permanence. They were painting the stage in gold, didn't realize they built it over a trapdoor. The moment they tried to go live without me, that trapdoor would creak open. The thing about code, it doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care if you smile in meetings or know the CEO's dog's name. It just runs the truth, line by line. I sat back, closed the laptop, and exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for 3 years. The anger didn't vanish, but it changed. Hardened, refined. They wanted to treat me like a tool? Fine. Let's see how well they run without the manual. 3 days out from launch, and the Slack channels read like a live crime scene. Staging froze again. Auth tokens not persisting. Session handoff dropped 2 clients mid-request. They were flailing, and I was sipping a pumpkin cold brew like it was the finest bourbon ever distilled. Alyssa, meanwhile, was off in her own delusional utopia, grooming her LinkedIn for post-launch accolades. So proud of our team's innovation, she posted, complete with a picture of Josh pointing at a whiteboard like he'd just cured cancer. Never mind that said whiteboard had a broken auth flow sketched in blue marker. My auth flow. The one they ripped out, duct-taped, and reassembled upside down. I kept quiet, observed. Their panic was a controlled burn, not the wildfire I needed. Not yet. Josh held emergency Zooms trying to troubleshoot with his devs, most of whom looked like they were still recovering from finals week. Maybe it's a CI issue. Could be a cache bug. Should we roll back? They poked and prodded the beast I'd wired with tripwires, never realizing the real bug was justice dressed in executable logic. I didn't even have to intervene. I just watched, until one message blinked into my private Slack, quietly, from a junior dev named Mia. She'd onboarded a few months ago. Quiet. Smart, asked questions like someone who actually wanted to learn instead of flex. She wrote, Mia Dev 1:47 p.m. Hey, just heads up. They're planning to revoke your repo access right after launch. Josh says it's precautionary, like I was a leaky faucet or a virus. I stared at the message for a solid minute, pulse steady, fingers still. Then I typed back, Marcy Systems 1:49 p.m. Appreciate it. Don't worry. I'm already off the grid, which was technically true. Everything I needed was baked into the build. The moment they pushed to prod, my verification layer would wake up like a dragon smelling smoke. I didn't need access, didn't need permission. I was the failsafe. The best part, they thought they were locking me out, didn't realize they were locking themselves in. Alyssa kept pushing out timelines. The board wanted metrics. Marketing wanted quotes. But the dev team were praying to gods that don't answer bug reports. The tension wasn't in whether it would fail. It was when, and how loudly. Launch day. They dressed it up like a damn wedding. Virtual streamers in Slack, Zoom background filters of champagne bottles, Alyssa in a silk blouse 2 tax brackets above her pay grade, holding a glass of sparkling rosé like she just orchestrated a moon landing. Proud doesn't begin to cover it, she gushed in the general channel. This is what innovation looks like when a team believes. My name wasn't mentioned. Not in the Slack announcements, not in the press release, not in the code comments. Just gone. sanitized like I was a PR crisis and not the reason the whole damn backend ever worked. They had their ceremony. Josh did a live walkthrough. Alyssa gave some bloated speech about leadership at scale. Then someone dropped the final merge into main and hit deploy. And I waited, silent, hands off. Heart steady, the logs flickered, the pipelines purred. The system began its elegant climb like watching a skyscraper being born in real time. Then came the silence. The kind of silence that eats noise. Production froze mid-deploy. Front-end loaded, back-end choked. Admin panel stalled. Then the screen, across every dev terminal, every client-facing interface, every shiny dashboard they'd spent months polishing, shifted to black. One message in bold white text blinked like a heartbeat. Unauthorized deployment. Pay license holder to continue. No crash, no chaos, just a wall, cold, untouchable, final. I closed my laptop without a word. No gloating, no monologue. Just the sound of my coffee mug touching down on the table. Ceramic on wood. The punctuation mark of a ghost finally dragging her chain through the living room. Alyssa's empire had gone live and then stopped breathing. Didn't know yet, didn't know what hit them, didn't know how deep it ran, but they would. 10 minutes after the message went live, Slack was on fire. Is this a test file? Anyone else seeing the block screen? Can we roll back to staging? Where's Josh? Where's Marcy? Meanwhile, clients were calling in like it was Black Friday at Best Buy, and someone just pulled the fire alarm. One of the sales guys had a full-blown panic attack in the kitchen. VP of Partnerships tried to manually reboot the servers like she was resetting a Wi-Fi router. The CEO stormed into the dev war room, eyes bulging, jaw twitching, shouting phrases like, "We have launch coverage scheduled. And do you know how optics work?" Alyssa was ready, though, too ready. She slid into the chaos like a news anchor mid-crisis. "It's Marcy," she said, eyes wide with manufactured concern. She must have sabotaged the deploy. She's been unstable lately, resentful. You know how it is when someone's work gets reassigned. Resentful, unstable, right on cue. She started prepping HR with a termination packet, even drafted a press statement. "We're investigating a former employee's actions, commitment to transparency. Thank you for your patience," the whole sanitized lie. But then legal walked in with the Lien file. Stamped, signed, certified. Filed 2 weeks ago. Didn't even make it to the second paragraph before Alyssa's face started draining like expired milk. "Wait, this says she owns the base system," someone whispered. "She what?" The general counsel, red-faced and sweating through his collar, picked up the phone. Called me. No greeting, just static and dread. "We need to talk," he rasped. I didn't even sit up. Just answered with the same deadpan I used when debugging memory leaks at 2 a.m. As per Section 8.2 of the original contractor agreement, I said, use without license constitutes material breach. You'll want to settle before your investors start asking where the audit trail is. Silence. Then, how much do you want? I didn't answer. Not yet. I let the silence stretch long enough to become its own kind of violence. Because what they were feeling now, panic, confusion, helplessness, that was just Tuesday for me during those stand-ups. Justice didn't show up with a sword. It arrived wrapped in legalese, encrypted, and version-controlled. By Friday morning, Alyssa was on leave pending investigation. That's board speak for pack your ring light and scrub your LinkedIn. HR scrubbed her Slack access by noon, but not before she fired off one last all-staff email about how this isn't goodbye, it's see you later. Sure, Alyssa. See you at the deposition. The CEO, he didn't even put up a fight, just quietly transitioned into a strategic advisory role, which I'm pretty sure means drinking on a yacht, while the new CTO untangles his mess. Word is the investors called for his head after 2 major clients pulled out, citing platform instability. Translation: your backend locked up like Fort Knox mid-demo, and your boardroom smelled like fear. Legal came back with an offer that almost made me laugh out loud. 7 figures. Retroactive licensing fees, plus my name restored on all public code documentation, patent filings, and the pitch deck. They even offered to bring me back in-house. Cute. I told them I'd think about it, then I ghosted. A week later, I filed paperwork for Cardenas Systems LLC, a boutique backend consultancy. Quiet, selective, ruthless. Within 2 months, I licensed the exact same core system, my system, to 3 of their competitors. All of them paid on time. All of them gave me full author credit. One even asked if I'd keynote their dev summit. I declined, but it felt good. The best part, no more stand-ups. No more being spoken over by people who confuse XML with Excel. Just clean code, clean contracts, and a calendar that answers to me. This morning, I logged in to finalize one last deployment. A direct rival to the old company was preparing to launch their own platform. I ran the final check, confirmed the handshake, and hit deploy. Then I watched the screen flicker once, then again, then freeze. Unauthorized deployment, pay license holder to continue. Turns out they'd tried to clone the system without a valid key. Turns out their CTO used to be Alyssa's golden boy. I took a long sip of coffee, leaned back, and smiled. Some people build empires. I build tripwires. There's something deeply satisfying about a revenge plan that doesn't shout, it executes. This story hit hard because it reminds us, quiet people aren't weak. They're just loading the receipts. You're the real stars of the corporate jungle. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, or I'll flick the switch on your old cubicle memories.